Okay, welcome everyone. We have Mario de la Osa tonight. Today depends where you are in the world. We have people from Nicaragua, from Kenya, from Serbia. I am in Vietnam right now. Very distributed audience tonight. And I just wanted to say thank you to Mario for joining us, talking to Kevin and Saba. Mario is currently a backend developer at GitLab. GitLab is a really cool company with a team of over I think 200 people at this point, where the team is completely distributed around the world. They have an amazing remote culture, and we have invited Mario to talk tonight to our students about what is the journey to become a remote software developer. It's not an easy one, but it means that no matter where you are, you can have access to really cool opportunities. And Kevin and Saba are getting ready for those opportunities. And it was a fantastic opportunity to have the chance to talk to someone like Mario and learn from you. So thank you so much again. Please start with your talk. Kevin and Saba, feel free to ask questions. And if you want at the end of your talk, you can spend 10, 15 more minutes answering to other questions that Kevin and Sal might have. So that's it. Go ahead, and thank you so much again.
Yeah, thank you very much for inviting me here today. So really excited to be here. So today I'm going to talk to you guys about how I became a remote developer. Like I said, it's not an easy road because the first thing you got to remember is that when you're local, you're only competing against the people that are there locally with you. But once you go remote, you're competing with the rest of the world. So you really got to bring your chops in for this one. So let me go ahead and share my screen here real quick, just so I can show you some funny pictures. So first of all, my name is Mario de la Osa. I am currently a backend developer at GitLab, and I used to be a software engineer at Plex, always working with the backend. That's my thing, right? I do backend development. Don't really like the front end that much, even though I used to do that. So let's talk about remote jobs, right? You know how the main reason everybody says they want to be remote is because they hate the commute. People say that commuting is a huge time sink, and there's actually studies to show that if you're driving more than 2 hours a day, you're literally getting dumber. So it's good for your health to not have such a huge commute. And people also complain about being in cubicles or being in an open area office where you can hear everything that's going on around you and you cannot concentrate. Like, it's terrible for especially for a developer that really needs to get in the mindset for developing. And so everybody has that remote dream, right? Just work from wherever you want, just hang out at the beach if you want to, and work from your home, from your terrace, from a hammock, from anywhere. So how do you get there? Well, like I said before, you are competing globally in order to get there. So the first thing you really, really need is an online presence, an online profile. So for a developer, especially, the most important thing is to have projects. It can be any project up on GitLab or on GitHub. Like, GitHub is the most popular one right now, but GitLab is also an extremely popular service, especially because it gives you private repos in case you're not ready to share a project currently for free. But it is important to have projects, no matter how dumb they are. Like when I was in college, I did this really, really terrible Java program that all it did was show you an animation of a spline. And the code was absolutely terrible. But I put it up there, I put it on my CV, and it actually got me some callbacks, local callbacks, but some callbacks. And I put Stack Overflow down there because, believe it or not, answering questions for other people helps a lot. Like, it's really not that hard in Stack Overflow to answer, say, one question every couple of days, and in 2 to 3 months, you can have a little badge on your profile that says you're the top 20% on Ruby on Rails and stuff like that. And that's with less than 1,000 reputation, which is not that much for Stack Overflow. Every single time somebody accepts an answer, you get 15 points. So you can get, in 10 days, you get 150 points right there. Sorry. And other things you can also do is like blogging and stuff, just anything that puts your name out there and shows people that you know what you're doing. The profile, sorry, having an online presence is important, not just so that people can see that you know your stuff, but also because one of the most important things for a remote developer is being able to deliver without anybody pressing you, because you're going to be in your house most likely or in a co-working office, and you're not really going to have a manager looking over your shoulder telling you, okay, what's up, do this, do it now. So companies really like to see that you're a driven person, that you know how to finish a project. Like, even if it's a small project, if it shows that you've added tests, that you've added documentation, that you created a complete package, that helps a lot. So that said, it took me a lot of years of trying to break into remote work before I managed to do it. Before I started at Plex, I wasn't even actually developing. I was a security administrator for a local company. But on my free time, I would answer Stack Overflow questions. I would push private projects openly to a repository. And so people could see what I was doing. And when I applied to jobs, I would make sure to in my cover letter to give them links to my Stack Overflow, give them links to my GitHub account. Just make sure that people can see immediately what it is that you've been doing. And even with that, because of my lack of experience in a remote environment, a lot of people took a pass on me until I pretty much got lucky with Plex, and they offered me to come on board as a part-time at first, but then they quickly offered me a full-time contract. So if you guys want, we can stop here for any questions about profiles or how to get your name out there.
Specifically on Stack Overflow, because I know people make profiles on GitHub, show their like what they've done, projects they've done. So maybe I can be a Ruby on Rails developer. I have so many projects Ruby on Rails. So specifically for Stack Overflow, what do you aim for? Is it most questions answered in a specific topic, or how does that work? Because I've had a friend tell me about the same thing for Stack Overflow.
Yeah, to be honest, on Stack Overflow, what I usually do is just whenever I have some free time, I'll go in, see if there are any questions that don't currently have answers, and I'll filter by a few tags. Like I look for Ruby or Elixir or Node.js, which are the ones that I know the most. And so just filter by the tags that you already have some experience in. And even if you don't actually know the answer right off the top of your head, you can test it out locally or have a quick Google, because even if you know something off the top of your head, people will appreciate you adding some references. So that's pretty much it. Just go in and answer things that either you already know or that you know that you could get with a quick Google or with a quick test locally. And before you know it, like people, there are a lot of people that are answering questions on Stack Overflow, but there are also a ton of people that don't. Like, they just go there to read the answers. So you can quickly climb up. You can quickly climb up the ranks in Stack Overflow. Like I was top 30% last year, and I hadn't answered questions for a whole year. And then last week I decided, okay, let's go answer like 2 or 3 questions They got about 5 votes, and now I'm top 20%.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
So because you're inside of a specific keyword in Stack Overflow, and I also like using their CV, the maker, because it actually shows those little badges. So instead of sending people my LinkedIn, I like to send them my Stack Overflow profile.
Oh, okay, makes sense. Because as a developer, sending the LinkedIn sometimes, I think it doesn't. I don't know. I think a Stack Overflow CV would be stronger than a LinkedIn.
Yeah, and they actually have something for that. They call it a developer story, where you can not only have your jobs, but you can also put in your personal projects or any answers that you thought you were particularly good, and you can have them all in the timeline, sharing space. So they're way more likely to be looked at.
Okay, I'll check that. What did you call that? I'll check that out.
The Stack Overflow developer story.
Okay.
Okay, taking a note as well. So Mario, I also wanted to ask you, because we were looking at remote developer job postings several days ago, and most of them were senior level positions. And even if they're not senior level positions, they require at least 2 or 3 years of experience. So do you think that we can apply for jobs that require more experience than we have, even though...
Right. Sorry.
No problem.
You want to finish the question?
Yeah, so even though we don't have that much experience, but we have like good enough profiles on GitHub, on Stack Overflow, blogs and stuff.
Right. So I wouldn't suggest you apply for a senior position, but definitely anything that is not marked as senior, you should apply to if you can show a good profile. Because when a company makes these postings, they're looking for that person, but they also will. A lot of companies, especially remote companies, because they tend to have a bit of a better idea of what programming is about. They'll accept people that don't have the experience, but that can show that they have the skills. And some companies will like Flex, for example, they'll bring you in part time, and so that minimizes both your and their risk, because you can see if you can actually make it there while maybe still doing freelance projects or something else, and they will be paying you, but they'll be paying you at a lower total amount because you're going to be part time. Or other companies will just take the risk outright, or will probably have more tests for you. I'm sorry, that noise is my dog trying to get in. Let her in real quick. But yeah, I would say definitely apply. Never let a lack of a skill keep you from applying, because in the end, it's also a numbers game. Somebody can take a risk on you at some point, and you'll be able to prove them right.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
So if you want to continue, then.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm talking about this, right? Like, make the profile, get your name out there. If you like writing, then you can write blog posts, or if you like answering questions, then Stack Overflow is a great idea. Or even if you get invited to talk at some small local conference, that's getting your name out there. That's showing people that you know the material. So all of that helps, because again, you're competing against the whole world, not just local people anymore. So anything that makes you stand out will help you. Now, it used to be that it was hard to look for remote positions, right? Like when I was trying to get in, there were maybe 40 or 50 remote positions a year that you would see posted. But nowadays, there are so many different places that you can look for positions. Like Stack Overflow is a really good one, of course, because you can filter by remote positions, and it's one of the best known websites, so it's likely to have the most posts. But WeWorkRemotely.com is also a very good one, and I've actually found a lot of very high quality positions there. And Remote OK is an aggregator, but it's really good at finding remote only positions. Now, the only thing that's a little sad about these websites is that they don't filter out positions that allow you to be remote but require you to be a U.S. citizen or a U.S. resident. So that's something that you gotta keep an eye out for. Because some companies will let you be remote as long as you are a U.S. citizen, because they don't want to deal with having to have you as a contractor, or all of those legal hoops they got to go through in order to hire somebody that's not in the U.S. But in Stack Overflow, for example, you can just go to perks and say ask for something that offers remote. And Stack Overflow is pretty cool because you can even go into tech and you can filter everything that, if you don't want to work with PHP, for example, you can filter out PHP. Or if you want to work with a particular framework, you can filter for that framework. So it's like one of the most complete places where you can search for this.
All right.
Sorry. Something else I wanted to talk about, though, about working remotely, is that it's not always the dream, right? You think that, yeah, working from a beach would be amazing because you can just relax while you're working and you got your drinks next to you or whatever. But I've actually tried doing this exact thing, and it's horrible. It's horrible because you got the glare of the sun right on top of you, and you got to be careful that your computer doesn't fill with sand, and it's annoying.
Okay,
I mean, the first time you do it, it's like, yeah, this feels good, but you're never going to do it again. So something that's really important when you're going to work remotely is to be very disciplined. Like, you want to have good to-do lists. You want to make sure that you know what you want, what you need to do, what you're going to be doing, because no one is going to be there pushing you, right? Like, you're the only one that will push yourself. And if you're not doing your job, everybody's going to be able to see it, because you're not going to be having commits to the code base, and you're not going to be closing issues. So something important is your home office. Like, if you have a home office, or if you go to a co-working office, whatever, just make sure you have enough space to really spread out. This is mine. I really like it because not only do I have space to keep my projects on the side or whatever, but I also have a little helper here to help me out with stuff. But yeah, the most important thing is that you be comfortable in your space, and that that you are driven, and that you are, what's the word I'm looking for? You need to be organized.
Okay.
okay.
So I wanted to go ahead and let you guys ask any questions you had.
Well, right. I wanted to ask you, because Kevin and I, we are doing a lot of pair programming in this program. I wanted to ask you, when it comes to working remotely, do you do a lot of pair programming, or you do it sometimes, or you work alone all of the time? How does it
Well,
look
that
like?
depends. It depends on the company. But I have not been doing pair programming unless I'm stuck for some reason. Like, if I get stuck, then you got to reach out. Like, that's another thing about remote. Like, people, if you're locally, people can actually see that you're stressed out or something and ask you about it. But when you're remote, you need to know when to reach out to your coworkers and ask for help. And pair programming is a good way to walk somebody through your code and ask them for feedback. Or another thing that's really nice is just either just talking about it or making a diagram together of how all of the classes interact. Like if you're talking about, okay, I have a bug here and I don't know why, then that's a perfect use for pair programming. But if you're talking about, okay, how do I architect this feature, then you might want to go a little bit more abstract and have some sort of diagramming going on instead.
Okay.
You guys have any other questions?
Okay.
Anything that maybe I left out, or anything you want me to talk a little more about?
Well, Mario, I have one question.
Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead, Sala. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to ask, like, what is the biggest misconception when it comes to remote programming? Is it? I mean, you talked a little bit about that it's not very perfect as some people imagine, like you cannot work from the beach and stuff. But is it? How is it compared to working in a company where you need to sit in the office and do a regular job?
Especially as a programmer.
Yeah.
Right. Well, as a programmer, it's really nice that nobody will be able to, come and tap your shoulder and tell you, "Hey, I need you to do something. Come on, let's go." Or so you can really hunker down and just disable notifications, and then you can focus if you need to. But the other side of that is you're alone, so you need to actually start reaching out to people if you want to feel more social. And so a lot of companies will have like random water cooler channels, so people can share links and laugh about things and just talk about anything that's not work. And something that GitLab does actually that's really nice is if you want to, you can join this channel called Do Not Be Strangers. And we have a bot that will pair you with a random person every Monday. And then you'll have a 15, 30-minute video chat. And that way, it helps you meet more people in the company that you might not meet throughout work because you're a programmer and they're in marketing and you don't talk. But it's a good way to start meeting more people around the company and staying social, because that's the number one thing that people say they miss when they go remote, being social.
Yeah.
Wow, I really like that. I didn't know that companies do stuff like that.
So I think Ariel had something to say earlier.
The question that I wanted to ask you is like, there's a really hard choice that you have to make as a remote worker every day. And how do you find the answer to that question, which is, do you wear pants today or you don't wear pants today?
I tried that once. I gotta be honest. I did try it once. No pants. It is not fun. I mean, what if you have to stand up and go get something and you're in the middle of a call? So it's always pants day for me.
Okay, good. I've heard that's the best practice in general. That's good.
Yeah,
No,
best
like,
practice is always pants day.
good. And the more serious note, how does it work for you and for GitLab when you have coworkers and like team members who are in a very different time zone? How do you make that work for you and for the team?
Right. So the number one rule is everything is asynchronous. So you cannot expect an immediate answer to anything. And that's also why you don't see many junior positions, because a junior usually needs a mentor. GitLab does have junior positions sometimes, not for backend developers, but if they see promise, then sometimes they'll allow a junior to start in the company, and they will assign a mentor, usually in the same time zone. But the number one way to be sure that you can communicate with your entire team, no matter the time zone, is write everything down. So use your issue board, use email if you have to, but we don't really use email. We just use the GitLab issue tracker and write everything down. If it happens in Slack, that's fine, but then Slack is not really easy to search back. So you copy the conversation, you put it in the issue board, or you put a link to where the conversation happened, so that people that were not part of it can refer back to it. So and also share everything, right? If there's a spreadsheet that has information, then also share it with people, make it searchable for the company, put it in the issue that it references. Like that's really the most important thing. Like make sure that everything is available asynchronously, and don't expect an immediate answer for things that don't require one.
Also, one question maybe from me is, let's say you go the remote route of working. When you're working with other people in the same room, and maybe you need to reskill or upskill, I find it relatively easier because you identify someone who's good in that skill, sit with them, learn from them. So how do you manage that from a remote standpoint? And is there like a big difference you feel between people who work in the office and have people around them, mentors, maybe senior developers who are good at something, so you can easily just tap their shoulder, hey, can I sit with you 1 hour? As opposed to working remote, where you're just alone and you have to be the one reaching out to everyone.
Right.
So what are the
something that also should happen in every company, but it should definitely happen more in remote companies, is getting people involved in code review, right? So because other people are reviewing your code, the things that you're good at, they'll notice it, and they'll share it, because something else that at least GitLab is good at is thanking people and praising people when they deserve it. So you'll definitely know this is the person to go to when I have a database issue, or this is the person to go to if my specs aren't working and I'm not sure why. So all of that, like you're alone physically, but you're not alone digitally. Like you will be talking to people on chat or on issues. It's not like you're going to be told, go do this, and then you're going to do it alone, and then you're going to push it in and nobody's ever going to see it. You're going to have at least one other person reviewing it, and you're probably going to be on the chat talking about what you're doing and asking if it's the correct way. Especially if you're new, you're going to be asking if what you're doing makes sense, because every code base is different, right? And you got to get used to it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Any other question, Kevin or Sava, you want to ask?
No, I'm good.
Actually,
thank you so much.
To ask you,
go ahead.
I wanted to ask, like, when that many people work in the same company and they all work on the same code base, how do you set boundaries? Who should work on what parts? How to make sure that everyone uses the same style? Do you use style guide for that, or you have some methods?
Yeah, when you have this many people, you need to be extremely organized. So GitLab has a backend team that has about, I don't know, 60 to 80 people, but that team is then subdivided into different functional groups. So you have the discussion group, which is the one I belong to, that deals with everything related to merge requests and issues and commenting on them and closing them and all of that functionality. And then you have other functional groups that are also in the backend, but deal with different parts of backend. And yeah, the way that you enforce a style guide is automating it. Like you need automated testing, and for example, we run Rubocop on every single time somebody commits something. So just like we run all of the automated tests every time somebody commits something, thanks to the CI/CD pipeline on GitLab. So yeah, automate everything, and when a pipeline fails, you get an email saying, "Hey, it failed," and then you get, "Okay, it failed because of the style guide, or it failed because whatever test didn't pass."
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you so much again, Mario. It's been super interesting to hear from your experiences, and there were some really good questions from Kevin and Sava. Not my question about the pants. That was not very good question. But I hope you'll have fun, that you'll learn things. And again, one more time, thank you, and we hope to see you again soon. And yeah, that's it. Have a very good rest of your days. Bye.
Okay. Bye bye.
Okay, bye bye.